Right then, you're very welcome back to Tuesday Nights Off the Ball. A very happy Christmas Eve to you. We're going to be bringing you, over the course of the next few days, some of the best of Off the Ball throughout 2025. But we decided it's also time to look ahead to 2026. A little bit early, but to do it all the same. So we've cast a net around the office. We found some of the hardcore workers who are still here, burning the midnight oil on Christmas Eve. So we've got Michael McCarthy back with us in studio. Mick, welcome back. Ben Symes has come back after the quiz as well. Ben working particularly hard today. And Susanna Mullen has hung around. You didn't get the call up for the quiz earlier.
No, apparently not. I've never been called up for the quiz, actually, Mick.
Oh, wow. I mean, this actually feeds in perfectly to what we want to discuss here. Our wish list and our New Year's resolutions. This is basically going to be like a really wholesome 2026 preview. We used to kind of create a situation where we were hostages to fortune in the past, where not only would we discuss in very granular detail who is going to win every single sports competition the following year, we would also then proceed to clip those things and put them on social media, which of course was great the one time you got it wrong, but terrible the other 5 billion times that you'd get that wrong. So we're going to spare all of our blushes in that front, and we're going to keep this pretty loose about what we're hoping for, what our Christmas wish list is looking ahead to 2026. When we were doing the review of the year last week with Gavin and Morris, it's very, very clear that there's like one sporting event that overarches everything. So I think we all have different wishes when it comes to next year's World Cup. I think, Susanna, you're just very straight up. I think we just wish for Ireland to qualify for the World Cup.
Yeah.
So brilliant. Ben,
yes.
Ben, you've got a bit more specific when it comes to the Irish football team and some of the players.
I've got a few with the players, yeah. Maybe do you want me to start with the players of the World Cup?
Start with the words. Let's go with the players first of all, and then let's get to the World Cup.
Okay, I want Evan Ferguson and Troy Parrott to both get a move to the Bundesliga, where they're battling it out for a top scoring title.
Right.
I just think a move to the Bundesliga would suit both players quite well. A lot of goals roaming around in that league, free goals. Parrott has already shown he can score in Europe. I just think Ferguson is a little bit of a help, and I feel like the Bundesliga would suit him. His physical stature quite well. I feel like he could bully defenders in that league.
And do you think that's going to help with our overarching wish of getting to the World Cup next year? Is this all part of the master plan, or are you happy enough for this to happen in the summertime?
Troy Parrott will happen in the summer. Evan Ferguson could happen in January, I suppose. Okay. But I wouldn't be too disheartened if it got pushed back to the summer.
That's great. I mean, that's always the best thing about New Year's resolutions is you can just put like a vague date on them. It's like, no, we don't have to do this in January. We can wait half a year to actually address this thing. So fantastic. So Troy Parrott, Evan Ferguson battling it out next season for Bundesliga top scorer. Talk to us about your next wish for an Irish footballer.
Well, Mason Melia, as we know, moved to Tottenham Hotspur, or is about to move on the 1st January. So my wish is Mason Melia comes on in the 4th round of the FA Cup. 3rd round, a bit too early. He's only been in the door a couple of days. Comes on in the 4th round of the FA Cup. I wrote down scores, but I think just a good performance will do me good. And then, whether he sticks around Spurs and gets maybe a couple of appearances off the bench towards the end of the season, or he goes out on loan to League One, I wouldn't mind that either. But I'd love to see him come on for Spurs and actually make that appearance soon, which is something that I remember Sam Curtis went over a couple of years ago at Sheffield United when they were in the Premier League, and it just hasn't really worked out. I'd love to see Mealy just get in early, get that appearance and get his name out there.
We had him in studio, what was it, about a month ago, maybe a month and a half ago, and like I was sort of talking to him about are you going over there to go into the system and go out on loan, and this is a long-term thing? And he didn't want to come across arrogant, but I knew from the way he was bristling at the question, and I knew the way he didn't, what he didn't want to say. And you sit across from someone now and it, he thinks he's going in and making the team. Now whether he is or not is another thing, but it's great that he has that confidence. He's been playing first team football for 3 seasons. So, you don't want to go back down to under 21 level or whatever, no matter how much of a step up you're taking. So it wouldn't shock me. Look at the state of Spurs, lads. Do you know what I mean? Look at the state of Spurs. And Melia he's a big guy. He'll be able for the rigour of it. Again, we were talking about certainly this season, a few minutes here and there, but I think if you're talking about a 2026 wish list, could Mason Melia be in the Spurs squad come next season?
Yeah, he could be in the Spurs squad. Dane Scarlett is there, which is a young striker they rate quite highly. I'd love to see him with that kind of technical training that you'll get over there. Because he already has the physical size and stature, and he has the first team experience. If he could get that technical training nailed down, which he already, like, his technique is already unbelievable. Like, the coaching you get over there is it's just different levels.
Yeah, I wonder, is he better off at Spurs for a year before
and get that
a loan move? Like, and then even you're thinking like Premier League loan move or Championship. Like
Championship, I'd say, yeah.
If you have a person who's playing for Tottenham Hotspur, as much of a basket case as they are, and you're looking for any additions to the national squad, you'd have to then start associating Mason Melia with the actual senior squad at that point. So hopefully that happens. I think they're very honourable wishes on behalf of our 3 young strikers. When it comes to the actual World Cup itself, what are you hoping for, Mick? Like, bring some joy and positivity to this.
He set me up there. I'm hoping for loads from the World Cup on. There's the World Cup takes on a thing of its own. We went into the World Cup in like Christmas World Cup last time. I was just disgusted by it, I have to say, by the whole thing in advance. And I remain no less disgusted by what took place in the build-up to that World Cup. And I think it's a horrible, soulless thing that happened that is like, it really, really paints football in an awful, awful way. But in the month of the World Cup, I couldn't help it. It was thrilling and it was enjoying, and it's what we get out of sport. And it's not to say you should ever put aside things, but at the same time, the sport as an escapism thing is all built around World Cups anyway. So it's hard to see how that won't be the case again this year, and it'll develop its own stories and we'll take them for what they are. And I think even if we had a choice in the matter, I think even if we had decided to be negative about it, I think it would be taken over in those few weeks. But one thing I just think that will become a bit of a story, and my wish list is that I hope it doesn't, is that I do feel like that the regime, as we might not be allowed to call them, but the American government with their current head will look to this gathering of the world's peoples as a political opportunity. And I do think that there will be increased ice raids around the World Cup, and not necessarily for the visiting supporters who will be there with visas and so on, but not that they won't be caught up in it, because we know they will. But you have to remember what they've been looking to do over the last year is flush out immigrant communities, like by going to places like Home Depot and Taco Bell and different things like that to try and find brown-looking people, basically, to put in jail, regardless of their status. So this is a massive opportunity for that to happen. And I think if that does take on a life of its own during the World Cup, it will become a massive story, and it will overshadow the football, and it will become a real eyes on the world on this, basically like, look what we're able to do, show of power. So I think it's a grim thing. And then my other side of that is that, like, I would really like FIFA to show some backbone in that regard if something like that happens.
That's probably the most ambitious of all the wishes that we're going to do.
And you know what? Yeah, and I actually have is like FIFA grow a pair / actually care in the first place, because there's no evidence to me to suggest that FIFA give a damn about any of the ills of the world.
No. Is there not a chance here that what's actually going to happen is what happens at every World Cup where there's a questionable regime? Like, particularly you think about Russia in 2018, for example. Very different cases, I accept, but there was a real suppression of any sense that this was a country that deserved questioning from around the world at that point. It was like a completely sort of, it went off without a hitch, that whole event. Like that would be my prediction for next year, is actually all this sort of stuff tends to go by the wayside when you have the eyes of the world on you.
Maybe, but can I tell you what my fear is about that? I think Russia and Qatar didn't want, their idea was sports washing. Their idea was, look what we can do. We're not bad. We're not bad people. Look what we can do. We can have a World Cup and in the meantime continue their ways away from the spotlight. America has no such desire. The Donald Trump government, and there's plenty of other people in it besides him, want people to know that this is what they're doing. This is an advertising campaign of cruelty, from what I can see. So I don't think the same thing applies. Now, what might happen is business interests and things like that do tend to come first. So maybe it's do you know how much money is in this World Cup? Back off. That's the kind of hope that I would have, is that, like, it's the worst people will talk to the worst people and things will be okay.
Yeah, like, it's not entirely disconnected, but like the experience of hopefully the Irish fan going to the United States is going to be something that'll be big topic of conversation post-March if the Republic of Ireland do qualify. Like, we've obviously seen the situation in recent weeks with the state saying that the ESTAs are absolutely going to be clamped down on, and we're going to need all this information about you. And then also you throw into that fact the extraordinary ticket prices. Like, I mean, again, happy Christmas, everyone. But is there a chance that actually that this starts to impact negatively, particularly for that Atlanta fixture?
I just don't know how anybody can go to the World Cup. I have to be honest. Like, it's one of those things. If you have money already, then you're the type of person that has money already. But if you don't, I mean, I don't know if the old credit union loan thing from Italia 90 is going to apply to this. It feels extreme, you know. Now, hopefully, people will find their way over. But the one thing I would say is, like, I think if we're talking about this from a political side of things, and political is the wrong word, but we're thinking about it from a non-football side of things, I actually really want us not to get bogged down in the Irish thing, because we'll have it easier than most. And Ian Wright mentioned this, and I've seen it nowhere else. I've seen no reporting on it. It's not to say there hasn't been, but I just don't think it's been a big story. There are many countries who've qualified for this World Cup who have a blanket ban on visas. They won't be able to bring supporters to America because something might happen in the meantime to specifically let them go to the World Cup. But just think about that. Like, there's just as Donald Trump would call them, shithole countries. That's an actual quote from a president of the United States of America. And therefore they won't be getting in because they might want to stay there instead of just going to support their team at a World Cup. So, you know, I feel like we could be wrong to get bogged down in what the Irish experience will be. Not that it isn't, that's our purview, of course. But from a non-football side, the bigger issue is what way. This is a country inviting in the world, but kind of telling them to F off at the same time.
We will be, we will care so much more, care in inverted commas there, if Ireland don't qualify about this than if Ireland do qualify.
We'll get completely wrapped up.
Like, it's hypocrisy for sure, but it's just the reality of how it's going to be. You also had another wish on the Ireland fans in Mexico, which kind of borders on the same level of danger, really, actually.
Danger or excitement, maybe, yeah. I want Ireland to qualify for the World Cup, obviously, as a given. And to be there in Mexico and see Toques introduced to the people of Ireland.
What is this now?
Well, Eoin, I'm glad you asked. Toques are probably on the list of the greatest inventions I have ever experienced in my life. It's probably, if not in front, right behind sliced bread. And Toques basically is this little machine that Mexicans use when they go out and drink tequila. And I've experienced this when you have a nice meal of lovely Mexican dishes, then you wash it down with your tequila, and they turn on this box. And the box is attached to two rods.
Yes.
Which you hold. And basically the person sitting opposite you will start slowly putting up the dial on the box, connect to the rods which you're holding, and just a little jolt comes to your body.
As you're drinking the tequila?
No, you've already drank the tequila.
Oh, sorry.
Or you could have it after. And as they turn up the dial slowly, the jolts start getting ever more frequent and start jostling your body a little bit more until you are, like, I don't want to say being electrocuted.
Yeah,
it's like
You're
a
getting
torture
quite a
mechanism.
Sounds quite. Sorry, and where did you experience this? Or where
I experienced this when I was living in one of the other World Cup host countries in Canada at the time, where there's quite a large Mexican community, and they introduced us Irish people to these. And when they were introducing us, they said, you know, oh, no one in Canada can I was going to say the word hack, but they didn't use that word.
Yeah.
Can handle this. You know, oh, let's see if you guys can handle it. And like, not only did us Irish people handle it, we got absolutely enthralled.
I did a month in Mexico and never came across these.
I've never heard of these
clearly
either.
in the wrong spots.
So I hate to break this to you, Ben. These things do not exist. You were just tortured in
It's
public
the Canadian,
for no reason whatsoever.
These do
You
exist,
have
and
not realised this.
Not only do these exist, I know Mexican places in Dublin where you can use them.
I mean, I refuse to believe this. I think you've got like a deep suppression of a really traumatic event in your recent life.
This is far from traumatic.
What's the point? Does it jolt the tequila, or is it just
No, you've
for
already
fun?
had the tequila. So it literally just gives you a jolt. I
You're
promise you.
electrocuting yourself.
You get a jolt from the tequila, and then you get a jolt from the electricity flushing through your body.
Toques. Toques. You can look it up.
Okay.
And I promise you, once an Irish fan is introduced to this,
I hope there's no danger to it, or else we've done a terrible disservice to the Irish fans going to Mexico.
My wish is that we all actually enjoy this World Cup when the reality happens, which is Ireland don't qualify for the World Cup. It's going to be.
This is a wish list.
It's I think it's a wish list predicated on the prediction that Ireland may not qualify for this World
Grinch.
Cup. I know, hate to be Grinch, but I think
are you trying to double bluff? Are you trying to?
Yeah, he's
if I
protecting
predict
himself.
we won't win, then we might win.
I would love to be responsible for something like that. Everything that Mick has just said has really kind of like dampened my spirits on
Sorry,
this.
I should.
But I just
2 days before Christmas.
I actually think this has the potential to be a amazing World Cup, if I dare say, as a television spectacle in particular. Maybe it's more to do with the fact that we work strange hours, but coming home and watching Brazil versus Morocco at 2 a.m. is just absolute peak World Cup. And I think it's the magnitude and the size of this year's World Cup in terms of a lot more minnows qualifying for sure. I think it'll just add to the vibrancy of the group stages in particular. And yes, there's going to be lots of kind of talk about how many games there are before we actually get to the real stuff. But it'll just become an absolute festival of television watching, and that's how I'm framing it in my head, as opposed to being there, because none of us are going to be there if Ireland don't qualify for the World Cup. So that we'll be able to take the smooth at the rough of Ireland not qualifying with a really, really good television product for the World Cup.
Yeah. I hope Brazil are good, because I worry about Argentina. And then I think you've got Spain, England and France are all going to be strong. So it's like you kind of need 6 good teams, don't you? You need the quarterfinals to be interesting. And someone will come from nowhere. Someone we don't know yet.
Morocco, yeah.
You know, yeah, or like...
Yeah.
But even like Germany could be a team classed as coming from nowhere. You know, it's like we don't know, like we don't expect it of them. But yeah,
You had one more football wish. I think it was actually Evan Ferguson.
yeah, it was Evan Ferguson related as well. Like I called it Evan Ferguson finds his forever home, and if that's in the Bundesliga, that's fine. But I do feel like he has been in a situation where, you know, we're often accused, I think, of standing up for Evan Ferguson or anything like that, like as if it's some sort of personal thing. Obviously, we want them to do well, but it's like, you know, I think we see that there's an opportunity there for him, and I feel like he's got unlucky between injuries and situations for the last 2 years, and it's a long time, but he is only 21. Evan Ferguson could easily just find a situation that suits him next.
Yeah.
And his career could take off from there. It also might not happen, but Christmas wish list, you know?
I want to move on to the rugby here. Susanna, what have you got for us on the rugby front?
My biggest one in the rugby is, because we were in the thick of the Champions Cup there a couple of weeks ago, is please, by God, bring back the old format. Or if you can't bring back the old format, get rid of the round of 16 and somehow make the competition more exciting, because those first few rounds were incredibly dull. It's hard to get away from that, to be honest.
There were very massive letdowns. Blank page of paper, how are you designing it? Are you going back to 20 years ago? Are you...
I don't think it even was 20 years ago. As in when they had the... God, I get confused. One is 4 pools of 6 and one is 6 pools of 4. I think it used to be 6 pools of 4.
Yeah.
It did, yeah.
And you had all the top teams made it out into the quarters, and then the
best
two second places. So it was firstly really easy to understand. I think go back to that.
Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
As in, I don't know why. Well, I do know why they changed it in the first place, but off the basis of that, it hasn't gone very well. Would they? Now, it's a difficult one, because I know it's not purely up to the ECPR or whatever they're called to make that decision. There's a lot of different kind of voices influencing it. But from looking at what is verging on becoming a failed tournament, I don't know if that's too strong of a statement.
I don't think so.
But definitely in the early stages, they have to make a change. And if that's just going back to what used to work, then yeah, why not?
I think teams find themselves in the knockouts now, as opposed to really gunning to make the knockouts. And when they find themselves there and their Premiership, Prem, or top 14 form has gone by the wayside, and they're like, finally we can focus on this now, and we're going to suddenly artificially create some sense of importance in our own head. We were chatting about this last night with Andrew and Jerry, just about, was 2025 a good year or a bad year for rugby? And they were making the point that it was a bad year if you're from Ireland. You don't have people in South Africa complaining about the way rugby is going at the moment. You don't have people in England complaining about the way rugby is going at the moment. It's a very Irish sort of pearl clutchy thing that's going on. Is that the same with the Champions Cup? Like, do we care unduly about this in Ireland? And
we did a Word on the Street episode on this last week or 2 weeks ago, and there was a guy who got in touch who was a Glasgow supporter, and he was like, well, for us, we absolutely don't want it to go back to what it used to be, because we never had a chance of making it out of the pool stages.
Yeah.
Whereas now they only have to win, one game. I think Ulster only won one game and made it to the round of 16 last year. And they have a chance of then focusing all their effort into that and progressing in the knockout stages.
Yeah.
So he was like, absolutely, we don't want it to go back. So maybe it's just for us, with the way the provinces are, is that. But I just think if you want jeopardy and excitement in the tournament as a whole,
it has to be objectively worse, because there's teams sending second teams to nearly every away match now, which takes away, like, what's the point in even watching some of these games? You know the result before it happens. And it's not every game, but it does feel like it's more and more every single year. And like, obviously the height of the Heineken Cup, as it was called back then, was like a huge thing in Irish rugby, in terms of like Ulster winning it first, Munster's run of the finals, losing the finals before they won them, and then Leinster getting over the line and becoming dominant. Like, the entire story of Irish professional rugby is told through what was the Heineken Cup, right? So that's a personal Irish thing where things are at the height. But if you think about like how much it mattered to the English teams and the French teams, and what Toulouse's story is, and Toulon's run, or Clermont never winning it, and you know it being their, you know, their holy grail and so on, or Leicester, Wasps, Saracens, like, it was the thing to win. And I don't think it is anymore. I don't think it matters as much anymore. I'm sure Bath would like to crown what they did last season by going and winning European Cup this year, but is every English team in that tournament thinking about winning it? I don't think they are.
Here's the key thing about this as well, and even though I've just said that we maybe care a little bit too much as Irish people about this competition, most Irish sports fans who know their stuff would just need a couple of minutes just to think who was in the final of this competition this year.
I agree.
Like, because there wasn't an Irish team in it. Like,
No, we've never been good at that, though. Like, we've never been good at paying any attention to non-Irish related rugby.
Well, I disagree. I think that England versus France in the Six Nations is something that we would care about. I think Wales versus England, when Wales are good, Scotland versus England, those non-Irish games in the Six Nations definitely has the country talking.
Okay,
where if we use the Champions League as the barometer here, which is like no matter who's playing in it, even if there's no English team in it, which obviously most Irish people support, there's still a huge amount of interest in it, and it just drops off completely. It's entirely attached to Irish provinces. Now, you have a rugby wish for 2026?
Yeah, it's very simple. Like, we need to see, the World Cup is in a year and 10 months or something like that. We need to see a couple of bolters to make it into to be relevant for the World Cup, and they might not be players we know much about at this stage. You know, I'm sure there are nerds is a bad word, I meant it in a positive way. I'm sure there are like deep cut rugby fans who would have been able to tell me before, you know, the last World Cup that Joe McCarthy was around the corner and he was coming, and he was like, you know, he was going to set himself up as being a lion in 2 years' time, right? But most of us don't know that, right, or whatever. And then even last year, would we have known that Paddy McCarthy would be coming through? So it can happen. Ideally, it happens from someone outside of the McCarthy family.
Yeah.
But I suppose the real thing is we've been producing talent on a fairly constant level for, you know, 20 odd years now. There's been a fairly good sort of, Irish players do tend to get a lot of caps. You do tend to stay in the team. We have a smaller player base, that's fine. But we just need a little bit more of a churn. And there's a concern that it's not there at the moment. There's a concern that the next generation isn't coming through. But funnily enough, in terms of international rugby, you just need that few. You just need that one or two at a time. And we've actually been getting it, but we need a big year next year from it. We need lads to start playing well for their provinces that aren't on our radar quite yet.
Give us your key position. If you had to pick one position where a generational talent just spawns next year.
Wing or full back for me, or centre. Like, I think one of the back five, I think Susanna can talk to you about our lack of X factor. You're thinking of forwards, I know, but we need some extra pace, and we just need to freshen it up, I think, in terms of sort of a killer, like, you know, as someone who can create a try from nothing. You know, and that's ideal world. And then, like, obviously we're always flooded with back rows, but I'd take Brian Gleeson taking a massive step next year, for example. You know, just out of, like, you know, and being a starter come the World Cup and being the potential player we think he might be.
Yeah, like, you could probably take a good stab at. Yeah.
we have a few, like, you know.
You could probably take a fair stab at maybe 11 or 12 of Ireland's starters for the next World Cup.
Yeah.
And it is going to be someone of the Gleeson mould, or of that level of profile, I mean, who is going to become a starter as well. Who are those maybe two players who are just going to take that next leap forward? Time will tell. What do you reckon?
I'm not sure. I agree on the wing state. I think pace is such a difficult one because we do have really pacey players floating around in different provinces, but we don't have anyone who has pace and then has the full package of what they seem to be looking for in an Irish winger at the moment, which is, strength, can not just sprint in a try from 50 metres out, but can also bosh 3-4 players on the way. And we don't seem to have anyone at the moment who's the full package of can do the steppiness, can do the big hits, and can also catch,
high ball,
6 balls in a row that are thrown up at them and have a spiral coming down. And all of those things is not yet wrapped up into one package of a player. So I definitely would love someone to come through in the back three that could maybe do a bit of that. We do have some exciting prospects playing kind of week in, week out with like Ulster, for example, who are playing really exciting attacking rugby, but we haven't seen them yet on an international stage. So definitely in 2026, I want to see some of them come through and see what they can do in kind of an Andy Farrell system. But then also I would love some sort of exciting back row option. I think we were chatting about this off air, that I think I'm harsh on the fact that a lot of the Irish players are incredibly good at what they were taught to do in school. Your likes of Caelan Doris, who is an incredible player and will make gains on the carry 10 times in a row, hit 1 million tackles, hit 1 million rucks, and that's what he does. But you would never see him do a Henry Pollock-esque, I'm just going to chip the ball over here, make a try from absolutely nothing and score, 2 or 3 times for my club or my country or whatever. And we don't really have anyone who does that. And I'm not sure if it's because we don't breed those kind of players because the system is so ingrained in them from very early on, from school level rugby, or if it's just that we don't have anyone of that calibre at this stage. But
more back row chip throughs and grubbers.
Well, I think it's going to become more important as well as those aerial balls come up. Your back rows are suddenly have another role in that they need to be chasing hard after the winger who's going up. They need to be able to get behind that ball.
Yeah. How come we had one Keith Wood? No, I don't mean that. Keith in himself was a unique player. Okay, I'm not saying that everyone has to be as good as him, but how come we've never had another kind of like maverick player since then? But as a forward, is
the truth that Dan Sheehan is absolutely
Dan Sheehan can do it, but I'm not sure you see him do it. And why is that?
That's a different question then. That's not on Dan Sheehan's shoulders if he's being curbed in some way. Like if he has the natural capabilities, why isn't it being expressed? Maybe they've crunched the numbers and it's actually a far more efficient way in which he plays. But you still see glittering touches from Sheehan from time to time. Like I think Cooker's actually been in a position where Ireland have done pretty well to develop somebody else.
Sorry, but I don't mean that we need another Keith Wood at hooker. I mean we need like someone who's like, he's going to get the ball and the opposition isn't going to have a clue what he's going to do. And it keeps everybody honest that it's a bit different and it's just that sort of talisman forward that is going to do something mad. He might not always, but it's there. It's in his locker.
It's all because like when we did that piece last week with Nick Winkleman from the IRFU, and we were kind of my angle on the whole thing was, why aren't we producing these X Factor players, or is there a way that we can actually load the deck to ensure that we produce more X Factor players? And he definitely puts a great importance on actually just decision making. Yes, there are all genetic factors at play. There are certain training regimes you can do, all that sort of stuff. But the thing that is underrated about modern rugby players is the decision making, the quick thinking. And he was making a comparison that a rugby player would find it easier to play in the NFL than an NFL would find playing in rugby because of the amount of kind of like open space and sort of thinking on your feet as opposed to just set play. So maybe that's a factor in this as well. I think maybe we sometimes underrate our capabilities when actually a lot of it is down to, the sharp thinking. Like Henry Pollock is obviously a great athlete, but it's his sharp thinking in that moment when he's chipping a ball over an opposition player's head or whatever the case may be that really enhances it. But yeah, this time next year it will be kind of given our wish list for the 2027 World Cup, and hopefully we'll be a little bit more confident after next year's rugby. We leave the rugby there. A couple of other bits and pieces to get through here. Ben, what's remaining on your list?
I'll touch on the golf first, maybe. Yeah. I want the whole live situation to be resolved. Evan to return to the PGA Tour, and we just forget that this live experience ever happened.
So by resolved, you mean gone?
By resolved, I mean gone, out the back door.
Quietly. Not even any fanfare.
No, nothing. Just... Yeah. You wake up one day and the headline is Live Tour is defunct and everyone is turning to the PGA Tour and that is it. Happy ever after. I just think that, like, have you ever watched a Live Tour event?
No.
Anyone? No. And I don't think any of us ever plan on doing so. Mito Pereira is 30 years of age, retired today. Went to Live a couple of years ago. He's retired to return to Chile and live his life. And this is exactly the purpose that the Live Tour serves. And it serves nothing for the game of golf to go forward.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're all in agreement with that. You've got an absolutely crucial one as well.
This is probably more important than Irish fans experiencing the very real tugouts in Mexico, and that is Sky Sports changed the intro song on Super Sunday, especially when Super Sundays are not so super. That song is unfortunately ingrained in my brain, and Mick, you were saying how off air, how you don't even notice it anymore. It's just so yeah, you get used to it, and it's just ingrained into your culture and into your brain. But I cannot stand this song from a band that I like some Kasabian stuff, but this is really not it. I'd love to see a return to some of the old classics.
I didn't even know that.
It is.
I know,
it is Kasabian, yeah.
Well,
does that say more about Kasabian, or does it say more about the song itself? But I'd love to see a return to some of the old classics, maybe like a bit of Written in the Stars, or something of that ilk.
The Stars, yeah, God, that's cool.
That Written. So I'm not picking. I'm not having that.
Well,
like that wasn't exactly a high point.
What I will Tiny Temper. Yeah,
I was afraid to say it.
what I will put to you is, as we are currently seeing at the moment, when you get to the depths of December, and we're not even at the depths of it, when you get to the third week of January, and it's a Sunday, and it's Fulham versus Crystal Palace at 4:30, you need a good song to get you into that, and that song just simply not get you through the winter months.
You have the right not to watch Crystal Palace versus Fulham, I would also say.
In the third week of January, I think, what else are you going to be doing?
League will be on that stage, will it? Oh, close to it anyway.
Yeah, it should be. I'm just going through old intro songs here. Like, I mean, there was just like they knew how to do this so well, and they've just.
The first year was Alive and Kicking by Simple Minds, I believe. I think that was the original.
Yeah.
Super Sunday. Ford Super Sunday.
Ford Super Sunday.
Come on at 2:00 and the match wouldn't start at 4. You'd be nearly asleep by the time the game would come on.
Yeah, we need to eradicate this song. Basically, it was an absolute disastrous move from Sky Sports. What have you got for us, Mick?
I've got two more quick ones. I'll just say I don't really have it. I would love to see the continuation of the progress in various Irish sports, but specifically, I suppose, athletics has taken us all in over the last 2 or 3 years. The European Championships are on in Birmingham. I really feel like Ireland, targeting the European Championships is something we really should be doing at the moment, and I think the fact that it's on in Birmingham quite locally, there could be some really good moments of that. It'd be great to see some medals and to see some kind of big breakthrough moments in August there. Personal one for me, I've tried to keep this as that. I'm always banging on about things like Aston Villa in this show, but I tried to not keep this personal. But I have one. Shane O'Donnell has said it's his last year playing for Clare. I mean, he's hinted at that once or twice before, but we kind of think this year, if everything stays fit, it probably will be. Him and Tony Kelly, about 32, or will be, I suppose, by the end of the championship. Can we get one more epic summer out of them? I've been, following these guys around since they were 19 years of age. It's been an unbelievable journey. There's been good years and bad years. There's been some of the best performances I've ever seen. There's been, it's one of those things that you kind of this might be a year for us to enjoy what they've given us. I don't think Tony's going anywhere, by the way, but, they might be their last year together. There's a few other players kind of on that side of 30 as well. And we talked about the Hurling Championship on our review show last Friday, and they never even came up, and that's fine. They kind of limped out of the championship, but they were all Ireland champions last year, so there could be one more burst in this Clare team yet.
That'll be a great story. I mean, it was kind of one of the stories that we were robbed of this year as well. It kind of looked like it was going to happen, but it never actually materialised. And that is Mixed Lists. We've got more from Susanna.
My list, yes. I just thought of one there that wasn't originally on my list.
Okay.
But the Winter Olympics is coming up in February, and we've got a few Irish spots already determined. As in, we don't know who's going, but we know there will be Irish athletes. For example, in the alpine skiing, they're going to have one man, one woman for sure. Now, it's really hard for them to do well coming from, sports that don't have a lot of representation in Ireland, don't have a lot of funding, all that stuff. But I would love for them to get on people's radar.
Yeah.
Whether that's through a medal, probably unlikely, but in some way or fashion, get on people's radar a little bit more, have a few Irish people watching the Winter Olympics and understand a little bit more about the kind of people we have competing in the sports, because some of their journeys are ridiculous.
100%. And look, I'm a big fan of the narrative about any individual athlete. But I actually think more than pretty much any other sport, you just watch the Winter Olympics for the Winter Olympics. That the sports themselves
incredible.
are
They hook
absolutely.
you every 4 years. You forget about them immediately afterwards. Like,
Oh, like it's absolutely, and like some of the
That's what we don't want to happen.
yeah.
I know, but I'm just saying.
The antithesis of the wish list.
It's why none of us mentioned it. We forget
Yes,
about the Winter Olympics.
true.
But what I'm saying is, as soon as you said it, everyone in the room went, yeah, because we love them when they're on.
Yeah, so like the speed skating is probably the greatest sport in the world.
Yeah.
And I don't know why I don't watch it outside of
the
one
weekend week out.
fortnight.
Eurosport's gone.
Eurosport is gone. How are we even going to watch this thing?
Discovery Plus, I think.
Yeah,
is the
well,
bigger-
like we'll have, but I mean, just as for the day in, day out stuff. Like,
And yeah, like trying to get down with the half pipe lingo. We had Bubba Newby representing us at the last Winter Games, and he was a really cool,
Throwback.
chill character, and it just brings out so many alternative people with either Irish heritage or who were actually born here and have lived there their whole lives. So you're right that the characters that actually represent Team Ireland are fascinating. They're not going to be on the podium, probably not going to be on the podium, but they are really, really interesting characters, and it's good to have somebody to kind of follow in these events. You do have one other
Yes.
niche,
Yeah, classic. Welcome to my sporting journey, niche sports. In the tennis, I would love an Irish tennis player to make a Grand Slam in 2026. Now, that is my most unrealistic wish of my whole wish list, but mainly because I really want to go to one and work at it. So if someone could get me there, I'd really appreciate it.
get the press pass in.
Yeah,
If they-
Wimbledon specifically, actually.
Wimbledon specifically. I was thinking. I
I'd
mean,
take the French Open maybe also.
maybe Melbourne's a bit of a far cry. Too short notice.
Yeah,
It's only on in a month.
not sure if I'm getting sent to Melbourne either way, but
yeah,
France or London, we could make happen.
right. So I think that's a pretty good aspiration for 2026. Irish tennis, get your act together. Get Susanna to a Grand Slam. I think that is all of our lists done and dusted. Mick,
Ben has one the most unrealistic of all, is West Ham
Hello?
to stay up. So
Oh,
we
yeah,
don't
sorry,
even
Ben.
talk
It
about
was so
that.
unrealistic that I didn't even bother to mention it.
Yeah.
I mean, I wrote West Ham to avoid relegation, half in hope, and I think we said, let's throw in one unrealistic wish. That's my unrealistic wish: West Ham to avoid relegation.
it's a very wholesome note to end this wholesome slot on. Michael, happy Christmas.
And to
Susanna,
you,
happy
Alan.
Christmas.
Happy
Ben,
Christmas.
happy Christmas.
Likewise.
We will take a quick break. We'll be back right after these.